I stared at my phone screen, the image burning into my retinas like acid. There she was, my wife, Jennifer, radiant in a red dress I'd never seen before, leaning toward a man across a candlelit table. His hand rested on hers. They were laughing. The kind of laughter that comes from intimacy, from shared secrets, from something far beyond friendship. The waiter who sent me this photo didn't know he was detonating a bomb that would obliterate 15 years of my life. The message read simply, "Thought you should know. Table 12 Romanos. Sorry, man." My hands trembled as I sat in our living room. The same living room where we'd celebrated anniversaries, where we'd talked about growing old together. But just 3 months ago, Jennifer had kissed me goodbye before her supposed business trip. The words tasted like poison now. I looked around at our home, at the framed photos on the mantle showing our journey together, and felt something inside me crack open. But let me back up. Let me tell you how we got here. Because this story doesn't start with betrayal. It starts with hope, with dreams, with the kind of love that makes you believe in forever. I met Jennifer Carson at a community fundraiser 7 years ago. I was 32, working as a financial consultant, and she was 29, managing a small marketing firm. She had this energy about her, this brightness that made everyone in the room gravitate toward her. When she laughed, it was like music. When she spoke, people listened. I was captivated from the first moment. Our courtship was something out of a romance novel. Weekend trips to the coast, late-night conversations that stretched until dawn, surprise flowers delivered to her office. I remember the day I proposed on a hiking trail overlooking the valley, the sunset painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. She cried when she said yes. I thought those were tears of joy. Maybe they were. Maybe everything was real once. We got married in a small ceremony surrounded by friends and family. My mother, bless her heart, had died 2 years before, but my father was there, beaming with pride. Jennifer's parents, Richard and Sandra, seemed pleased enough, though I always sensed a certain reservation from them. They'd wanted someone more established for their daughter, someone from their social circle. I was solid, stable, but not wealthy. Not yet. That became my mission too. Give Jennifer everything she deserved. After the wedding, I threw myself into work. I took on extra clients, stayed late at the office, networked relentlessly. Jennifer's marketing firm was struggling, barely breaking even. She'd come home, frustrated, worried about making payroll, about losing clients to bigger agencies. I couldn't stand seeing her stressed like that. "Don't worry," I told her one night as we sat in our modest apartment. "We'll figure it out together," and I meant it. When she needed $20,000 to keep her business afloat, I liquidated my retirement savings. All of it. Every penny I'd been putting away since my 20s. The money I'd planned to use for our future, for a house, for children, for security. I handed it over without hesitation. "Are you sure?" she asked, though her eyes were already calculating how she'd use it. "I'm sure. We're a team. Your success is my success." She kissed me then, told me I was the best thing that ever happened to her. I believed her. The 20,000 became 40 when she needed to hire new staff. Then 60s when she wanted to move to a better office space. Then 80 when a major campaign required upfront investment. Each time, I found a way. I took out a second mortgage on the small house we'd finally bought. I borrowed from my 401k. I even asked my father for a loan, which hurt my pride, but I swallowed it down because this was for us, for our future. Jennifer's business did grow. Within 3 years, she had 15 employees and clients across 3 states. She started traveling, more conferences, client meetings, networking events. I was proud of her, genuinely proud, even when it meant eating dinner alone most nights. Even when our conversations became shorter, more transactional, even when she seemed distant, distracted. "It's just stress," she'd say, when I asked if everything was okay. Building a business is exhausting. I didn't know. So I picked up the slack at home. I did the grocery shopping, the cooking, the cleaning. I scheduled the house repairs, paid the bills, managed our finances. I handled everything so she could focus on her dreams. That's what partners do, right? On our 5th anniversary, I planned a special dinner at home. I'd taken the afternoon off, prepared her favorite meal of crusted salmon with roasted vegetables and a chocolate souffle for dessert. I'd bought champagne, lit candles, set up a playlist of songs from our dating days. The table looked perfect, romantic, like something from a magazine. Jennifer came home 3 hours late. "Oh no, I completely forgot," she said, looking at the cold food and melted candles. "I had a client dinner that ran long." "I'm so sorry, honey." "It's okay," I said, forcing a smile. "We can reheat everything." But she was already on her phone, texting someone. "Actually, I'm exhausted. Can we just order a pizza and watch a movie?" We ordered pizza. She fell asleep 20 minutes into the movie. I sat there in the dim light, watching her sleep, telling myself this was temporary. Once the business stabilized, we'd reconnect. We'd get back to being us. That was 2 years ago. Last year, things seemed to improve. Jennifer became more attentive, more affectionate. She'd surprise me with my favorite coffee in the morning, suggest date nights, ask about my day with genuine interest. I thought we were turning a corner. I thought the sacrifice had been worth it. I've been thinking, she said one evening as we walked through the park near our house, we should plan that trip to Italy we always talked about. Remember, I remembered. We talked about it on our honeymoon, promised ourselves that for our 10th anniversary, we'd spend 2 weeks exploring Tuscany and Rome. That would be amazing, I said, squeezing her hand. But can we afford it right now? I think so. Business has been good. We deserve this, don't you think? After everything we've been through, we booked the trip for June, 3 months away. I was thrilled, energized. Finally, we'd have uninterrupted time together. Finally, I'd get my wife back. I should have known something was wrong when she started going to the gym obsessively. Jennifer had never been particularly but suddenly she was up at 5 in the morning for workout classes, coming home talking about her new trainer Marcus and the other members of her fitness group. It's good for networking too, she explained when I commented on the frequency. A lot of potential clients work out there. I should have known something was wrong when she started dressing differently, more expensive clothes, tighter fits, bolder colors. She'd always had good style, but this was different. This was intentional. You look beautiful, I told her one morning as she checked herself in the mirror before heading out. Thanks, she said absently, applying another coat of lipstick. Where's this outfit for? Just the office. I have to look professional, you know? I should have known, but I didn't want to know. I wanted to believe in the fairy tale we'd built together. I wanted to believe that love and loyalty still meant something. 3 weeks before our Italy trip, Jennifer told me she needed to make a quick business trip to Chicago. It's just 3 days, she said. One of our biggest clients is having issues with their campaign, and they want me there in person. 3 weeks before our vacation. Can't someone else handle it? She gave me that look, the one that said I was being unreasonable. This client brings in 40% of our revenue. I have to go. Okay, I conceded. When do you leave? Tomorrow morning. Early flight. Something in my gut twisted, but I ignored it. I helped her pack, drove her to the airport, kissed her goodbye. I'll miss you, I said. Miss you too, she replied, already walking toward security. She called me that first night from her hotel room. Everything seemed normal. We talked about her meeting, about what I was doing at home, about our Italy plans. The second night, she texted instead of calling, exhausted, going straight to bed. Love you. The third night, nothing. I tried calling, it went to voicemail. I texted, no response. I told myself her phone probably died. I told myself she was in late meetings. I told myself everything was fine. She came home on the 4th day, looking refreshed and happy. Too happy for someone who'd been stressed about a difficult client. How did it go? I asked as she unpacked. Great. We fixed everything. Client's happy. Your phone was off last night. I was worried. Battery died and I left my charger at the office. Sorry, should have borrowed someone's phone to call. It made sense. It was reasonable, but that twist in my gut tightened. 2 weeks before Italy, Jennifer's best friend Sarah came over for coffee. I'd always liked Sarah. She was straight talking, funny, grounded. She'd been a bridesmaid at our wedding. I was in my home office when I heard Ray's voices from the kitchen. Not quite yelling, but intense. I moved closer to the door. You need to tell him, Sarah was saying. Tell him what? There's nothing to tell, Jennifer. I saw you at Romano's last week with him. My heart stopped. You're being ridiculous. That was a business dinner. Business dinners don't involve holding hands across the table. Business dinners don't end with kissing in the parking lot. Keep your voice down. And you're wrong. You saw wrong. I know what I saw. And if you don't tell him, he deserves better than this. There's nothing to tell. Mind your own business, Sarah. I heard footsteps. Quickly, I moved back to my desk, pretending to work. A moment later, the front door slammed. Through my window, I saw Sarah getting into her car, her face angry and sad. Jennifer appeared in my doorway. Sarah had to leave some emergency with her mom. I looked at her, really looked at her, at the woman I'd given everything to, at the woman I'd trusted completely. Is everything okay between you two? I asked. Oh, Sarah, she's dramatic sometimes. Everything's fine, she smiled. I wanted to believe that smile. I wanted to believe everything was fine, but I couldn't. That night, after Jennifer fell asleep, I did something I had never done before. I picked up her phone from the nightstand. My hands shook as I tried her passcode hour wedding date. Invalid. I tried her birthday. Invalid. I tried my birthday. Invalid. She changed her passcode. Why would she change her passcode? I put the phone back down, my heart racing. Maybe there was a good reason. Maybe she just wanted more security. Maybe I was being paranoid, but I couldn't sleep. I lay there in the dark, listening to her breathe, and felt like a stranger was beside me. The next morning I called Sarah. We need to talk, I said. About what? Her voice was guarded. About what you saw at Romano's. Silence, long, heavy silence. Sarah, please, if something's going on, I need to know. I can't, she finally said. I can't be the one to blow up your marriage, but maybe you should pay attention to where she goes. Who? She? Sees? That's all I can say, she hung up. I sat in my car outside my office, staring at nothing. Part of me wanted to confront Jennifer immediately. Part of me wanted to hire a private investigator. Part of me wanted to pretend this conversation never happened. Instead, I did something simpler. I suggested we go to Romano's for dinner that weekend. Jennifer's face went pale, just for a second, just a flicker. But I saw it. Romano's. Why there? I've heard it's really good. Thought we could try it before Italy. Actually, I'd prefer somewhere else. Romano's is overpriced and the portions are tiny. Have you been there? What? No. I just... I've heard reviews. She was lying. I could see it in the way she wouldn't meet my eyes, in the way her hands fidgeted with her phone. Okay, I said. We'll go somewhere else. That weekend came and went. We had dinner at a different restaurant, made small talk, went home. But something had shifted. I was watching her now, really watching. I noticed how she angled her phone away from me when texting, how she'd take calls in another room, how she'd disappear into the bathroom for 20 minutes with her phone, how she'd smile at messages I couldn't see. 1 week before Italy, Jennifer told me she needed to work late. Big presentation tomorrow. I'll probably be at the office until 10 or 11. Want me to bring you dinner? No, we're ordering in. Thanks though. At 9 o'clock, I drove by her office. The lights were off. Her car wasn't in the parking lot. I called her. Hey, just checking in. How's the presentation coming? Good. Almost done. Probably another hour. Need anything? Nope. All good. See you at home? She was somewhere else. Somewhere she didn't want me to know about. With someone she didn't want me to know about. I drove home and sat in the dark living room, waiting. She came home at 11:30, looking tired but satisfied. How'd it go? I asked, startling her. Jesus, you scared me. Why are you sitting in the dark, just thinking? How was the presentation? Fine. Exhausting. I'm going to bed. I drove by your office around 9. The lights were off. She froze. For just a second, she froze. You drove by my office? Why? I thought I'd surprise you with coffee. But you weren't there. I was in the conference room. The lights were on in the back. You probably couldn't see from the street. Another lie. The conference room faced the street. I would have seen lights. Okay, I said. She went upstairs. I stayed in the dark. The next day, I made a decision. I contacted a friend who worked in IT security. Can you track a phone's location? I asked. Depends. If you have access to the cloud account, yes. Why? I explained the situation. He didn't judge, just gave me instructions. That evening, while Jennifer was in the shower, I logged into our shared iCloud account on my laptop. We'd set it up years ago for photo sharing. I'd forgotten about it until now. I pulled up her phone's location history. My stomach dropped. Last week, when she said she was working late, she'd been at an address on the other side of town. I Googled it. An apartment complex, not her office, not a client's office, an apartment complex. The week before that, when she said she was at a networking event, same address. The night she came home at 11:30 claiming to be at the office, same address. I scrolled back further. Chicago. During her supposed business trip, her phone had been at a luxury hotel for 3 days, but there had been another phone at that hotel. I could see the pattern, both phones moving together, staying at the same locations. I felt sick, physically, violently sick. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. Are you okay? Jennifer called from the bedroom. Yeah, I managed. Something I ate. I looked at myself in the mirror. My face was pale, sweaty. This was really happening. My wife was having an affair, but I needed proof. Real, undeniable proof. I composed myself and went back to the laptop. I downloaded all the location data, screenshotted everything, saved it to a secure folder. Then I started planning. 4 days before Italy, Jennifer mentioned she was meeting a client for dinner. Which client? I asked casually. Davidson Corp, big contract negotiation. Where are you meeting? Probably their office downtown. Why all the questions? Just curious. Want to know what time you'll be home? Probably around 9. That evening, I followed her. I stayed 3 cars back, watched as she drove not toward downtown, but toward that apartment complex. She parked, checked her makeup in the rearview mirror, and walked into the building. She looked excited, happy. I waited. 30 minutes later, a man came out. Tall, well-dressed, probably mid-40s. He got into an expensive car and left. I snapped photos of him, of his license plate. Then, on impulse, I walked into the building. A resident was coming out, and I caught the door before it closed. I went to the directory, apartment trays, B. Marcos, Hendrix Marcus, her trainer, the man she'd been talking about for months. I went back to my car and sat there trying to process this. My wife was upstairs in another man's apartment, probably in his bed, while I sat in my car like an idiot. I wanted to storm up there. I wanted to break down the door. I wanted to scream, but something stopped me. A cold clarity settled over me. If I confronted them now, in the heat of emotion, I'd lose. Jennifer would cry, apologize, swear it was a mistake. Or worse, she'd gaslight me, tell me I was imagining things, make me doubt my own eyes. No, I needed to be smart about this. Strategic. I drove to Romano's restaurant. It was upscale, intimate, the kind of place you'd take. Someone you want to impress. I sat at the bar and ordered a drink. You waiting for someone? The bartender asked. Just grabbing a drink. Long day. He nodded sympathetically. E-A-R-E-U. Though usually our long day customers are the ones whose spouses are at table 12. I looked up sharply. Table 12. Private booth in the back. Every Thursday night. Same couple. Holding hands. Sharing dessert. The whole 9 yards. Meanwhile, I bet their real partners have no idea. You're kidding. I wish I was. Happens more than you'd think. I'm Tom. By the way, David, I said, shaking his hand. What brings you here, David? Besides the excellent whiskey, I made a decision. My wife. I think she's been meeting someone here. Tom's expression shifted to sympathy. The blonde, red dress comes in with the dark-haired guy. My heart sank. I'm sorry. I've seen them here maybe 5, 6 times. Always thought it was weird because she has a wedding ring but acts like she's single. If they come in again, would you would you take a picture and send it to me? I need proof. Tom hesitated. That's not really our policy, Double quotes, please. I've given her everything. My savings, my retirement, years of my life. I just need to know for sure before I make any decisions. He looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. Give me your number. If I see them, I'll send you a photo. But that's all I can do. That's all I need. I gave him my number, finished my drink, and went home. Jennifer came in around 10:30. Her hair slightly messed, her makeup smudged. How was the client dinner? I asked, could I think we'll get the contract? She yawned. I'm exhausted. Going to bed. She kissed me on the cheek and went upstairs. I sat on the couch, my phone in my hand, waiting for confirmation of what I already knew. 2 days before Italy, I started making calls. First to our bank, where I had my name removed from Jennifer's business accounts but kept my personal savings account active. Then to our financial advisor, where I shifted our joint investments into my name only. Then to a lawyer. The lawyer, Patricia Morrison, was sharp and efficient. I need to know my options, I told her. She listened to everything, took notes, asked questions. Do you have proof of the affair? Location data, witness testimony, and hopefully photos soon. Good. Given that you've provided substantial financial support for her business using your own assets, you may have a claim to part of the business value. We'll also need to address the house, the cars, any shared property. I don't care about her business. I just want out. You might feel that way now, but trust me, you're going to want compensation for what you invested. Let's protect your interests. She explained the process, the timeline, what I'd need to do. I left her office feeling simultaneously empowered and devastated. This was really ending 15 years over. The day before Italy, Jennifer was in a great mood. She'd been packing, chatting excitedly about our itinerary, acting like nothing was wrong, like she wasn't living a double life. I can't wait, she said, folding clothes into her suitcase. 2 weeks, just us. No work, no stress, just enjoying each other. I watched her, this stranger who looked like my wife. Yeah, it'll be memorable. My phone buzzed. A message from Tom, the bartender. They're here. Table 12. Sending photo now. My heart hammered as the image loaded. There they were, Jennifer and Marcus, leaning close, his hand on hers, both laughing. She wore the red dress, the one I'd never seen. In the photo, she looked radiant, alive in a way I hadn't seen in years. Below, Tom had added. Sorry, man. For what it's worth, you deserve better. I stared at that photo, feeling everything inside me crystallize into something cold and hard. Jennifer looked up from her packing. Everything okay? You look pale. I'm fine. Actually, I need to run to the store. Need anything? Nope, I'm good. I got in my car and drove, not to the store, but to my father's house. He was in the garden, tending his roses. Dad, I need to talk. He looked up, saw my face, and immediately came over. What's wrong? I told him everything. The affair, the money, the lies. He listened without interrupting, his face growing harder with each detail. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to end it, but I want to do it right. I want her to know exactly what she's losing. Do you need anything from me? Just ... be here. I might need somewhere to stay soon." He gripped my shoulder. "Always. You're my son. Whatever you need." That night, I canceled the Italy trip, both plane tickets, the hotel reservations, the tours we'd booked. I'd lose some deposits, but I didn't care. I sent Jennifer an email from her own account, making it look like a client emergency had come up. Then I waited. The morning we were supposed to leave for Italy, Jennifer's phone rang at 6 a.m. It was her assistant. "Jennifer, the Davidson Corp client is furious. They said you canceled your presentation today without notice." I watched Jennifer's face turn from sleepy to confused to panic. "What? I didn't cancel anything?" There must be a mistake, but there wasn't, because there had never been a presentation. It was another lie. She scrambled to call the client, to apologize, to reschedule. The whole time, I watched her, and she never once looked at me. Never once thought to question why this emergency conveniently happened today. "I'm so sorry," she told me after finally getting off the phone. "I have to handle this. We'll have to postpone Italy." "Actually," I said, "we won't." She looked up. "What?" "I already canceled it yesterday." Her face went blank. "You what?" "I canceled our trip. Why would you do that?" I held up my phone, showing her the photo from Romano's, because I'm not going on a romantic vacation with a woman who's been having an affair. The color drained from her face. "David, that's not..." "Don't." My voice was cold, controlled. "Don't lie to me anymore. I know about Marcus. I know about the apartment. I know about Chicago. I know about every Thursday night at Romano's. I know everything." She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You've been having an affair for months. While I've been here, supporting you, sacrificing everything for you, you've been with him." Tears started falling. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It just happened. I didn't mean for it to." "To what?" "To break our marriage. To betray 15 years. To take everything I gave you and throw it back in my face." "Please, we can fix this. I'll end it. I'll never see him again. Please, David, I love you." I looked at her, at those tears that might have worked on me a week ago, and felt nothing but cold clarity. "No." "What?" "No, we can't fix this. It's over." "You don't mean that." "We can go to counseling. We can work through this." I stood up. "I've already filed for a divorce. You'll be served papers tomorrow. I've removed my name from your business accounts, moved our joint assets, and consulted with a lawyer about my financial claims against your company." Her tears stopped. Her face hardened. "You can't claim my business. I can, and I will. Every penny I gave you, every sacrifice I made, I'm getting compensation for it. That money was a gift. No, it was an investment in our marriage. A marriage you destroyed." She stood up, her voice rising. "You're being vindictive. This is cruel." I laughed. Actually laughed. "I'm being cruel. I gave you everything. I worked myself to exhaustion so you could chase your dreams. I put your needs above mine for 7 years, and you repaid me by having an affair. It wasn't like that. What was it like then? Tell me. Help me understand how you justified it." She was silent. "That's what I thought." I picked up my car keys. "I'm staying at my father's. Don't contact me except through the lawyer, David. Please." But I was already walking out. Away from her, away from the house we'd built together, away from the life I'd thought we had. And for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. I spent the first night at my father's house in the guest room that still had my old baseball trophies on the shelf. The irony wasn't lost on me here. I was a 40-year-old man, back in a childhood bedroom because my marriage had imploded. But my father didn't make me feel small. He made dinner, poured us both whiskey, and let me talk when I needed to, and sit in silence when I didn't. Your mother would have been proud of you," he said that night as we sat on his back porch, "for having the strength to walk away. I don't feel strong. I feel like an idiot. How did I not see it sooner? Because you loved her. Love makes us trust. That's not a weakness, son. That's what makes us human." I wanted to believe him, but all I felt was hollow. The next morning, my phone started blowing up. Jennifer had been served the divorce papers. The messages came in, waves first, pleading, then angry, then desperate. "We need to talk. You're making a huge mistake. How can you do this to me after everything we've been through? I made one mistake and you're throwing away our marriage." I blocked her number. Then I called Patricia Morrison. "The papers have been served," I told her. "Good. Now, I need you to compile a complete list of every financial contribution you made to her business. Bank transfers, loan documents, credit cards, statement. We're going to show that you're entitled to compensation." I spent the next 3 days going through 7 years of financial records. Every transaction told a story of my devotion and her exploitation. $20,000 here for initial investment, $40,000 there for expansion, $15,000 for new equipment, $10,000 for a marketing campaign. The numbers added up to something staggering. Over $230,000 of my money poured into her business. But it wasn't just the money, it was the time, the sacrifices, the nights I ate alone, the anniversaries she missed, the dreams I deferred. How do you put a price on that? Patricia reviewed everything with a sharp eye. "This is good, very good." Her business is currently valued at approximately $800,000 according to her own financial statements. Given your investment and the fact that you made it during the marriage with the understanding it was for your mutual benefit, you have a strong claim to at least 30%. $240,000, I said quietly. "Achi minimum." Possibly more, depending on how things proceed. Jennifer's lawyer reached out within a week. His name was Richard Calloway, and he had a reputation for being aggressive and expensive. The fact that Jennifer could afford him told me her business was doing even better than I'd thought. The first settlement offer came through Patricia. Jennifer was willing to give me the house and $50,000 if I walked away from any claims to her business. I laughed when Patricia read it to me. $50,000, I invested over $200,000. I told them it was insulting. They know it's insulting. They're testing to see if you'll settle quickly, counter with full compensation plus emotional distress. Patricia smiled. "I like the way you think." While the legal battle heated up, I started putting other pieces in place. I'd always been good with numbers, good at seeing patterns and solving problems. Now I turned that skill toward understanding exactly what Jennifer had been doing. I hired a private investigator named Frank DeLay. He was expellees, thorough, and discreet. Within 2 weeks, he had a comprehensive report. Marcus Hendricks, age 43, owned 3 fitness studios across the city. Divorced twice, with a reputation as a player who targeted wealthy, vulnerable women. His net worth was substantial. Drove a lived in that upscale apartment and vacationed in places that showed up on Jennifer's credit card statements. Credit card statements I still had access to because I'd been the one managing our finances. Frank's report showed that Jennifer and Marcus had been together for at least 8 months, possibly longer. They'd taken trips together, Chicago, Miami, San Diego, all disguised as business trips for Jennifer. They'd spent thousands at expensive restaurants, hotels, and shops. The money I'd been sending to her business account had been funding her affair. The rage I felt was white hot and consuming, but I channeled it, made it productive. I contacted every one of Jennifer's major clients. Not too bad-mouth heard that would be unprofessional and could hurt my legal case. Instead, I simply introduced myself as someone with financial consulting expertise who'd worked closely with her business development. Several of them remembered me from networking events Jennifer had dragged me to over the years. "I'm transitioning to independent consulting," I told them. "If you ever need financial analysis or business strategy support, I'd love to work with you." 3 of them hired me within the month. Jennifer found out when her clients mentioned in passing that they were also working with me now. She called me from a different number. I answered because I didn't recognize it. "You're stealing my clients?" Her voice was shrill, panicked. "I'm not stealing anyone. I'm offering services they need. They're free to work with whoever they choose. This is sabotage. I could sue you. Go ahead." My lawyer would love that. "While we're in court, we can discuss how you used marital funds to finance an 8-month affair. I have documentation, receipts, hotel bookings, all of it." She was silent. "That's what I thought," I said. "See you in mediation." I hung up. The power had shifted. She could feel it, and I could feel it. For so long, I'd been the one giving, compromising, accommodating, Now I was taking back control of my life. My father noticed the change in me. "You seem different," he said one evening as we grilled steaks in his backyard. "I feel different, lighter somehow. That's what happens when you stop carrying someone else's weight." He was right. Without Jennifer's constant demands, her emotional manipulation, her subtle criticisms disguised as concern, I felt like I could think clearly again, could breathe again. I started going to the gym, not Marcus's gym, obviously, but a different one across town. I started eating better, sleeping better. I reconnected with friends I'd neglected during my marriage. My buddy from college, Alex, met me for drinks and said, "Man, I haven't seen you this relaxed in years." "I'm getting divorced," I told him. "I know, but you seem happy about it." "Not happy, but relieved. I feel like I've been let out of prison." "Jennifer always did seem, we just never said anything because you seemed happy." "I wasn't happy. I was performing happiness." "There's a difference?" The mediation session was scheduled for 6 weeks after I'd moved out. Jennifer showed up with Richard Calloway and an attitude that screamed defiant. She'd lost weight, looked tired despite the expensive clothes and perfect makeup. Part of me felt bad for her, a very small part. "Let's try to keep this civil." The mediator, a woman named Dr. Sandra Phillips, began, "The goal here is to reach an agreement that both parties can accept." Richard Calloway immediately went on the offensive. "My client is willing to offer Mr. Mitchell the marital home and $75,000 in exchange for relinquishing all claims to her business." Patricia didn't blink. "My client invested over $230,000 in that business during the marriage. $75,000 is less than a third of his investment. Those were gifts, not investments." "Do you have any documentation showing they were gifts?" "Any written agreements? Because we have bank statements, loan documents, and email correspondence where Mrs. Mitchell explicitly promised returns on these investments once the business became profitable." Jennifer shifted uncomfortably. I kept my face neutral. The mediation went back and forth for 3 hours. Jennifer's side tried every angle, claiming the money was freely given, that I was trying to destroy her business out of spite, that I was being unreasonable. Patricia calmly presented evidence of the affair, of the marital funds used to support it, of Jennifer's breach of fiduciary duty. Mr. Mitchell supported his wife's business in good faith, believing they were building a future together. Meanwhile, Mrs. Mitchell was using those funds to finance an extramarital relationship. The court will not look favorably on this. Jennifer's face went red. "That has nothing to do with the business." "It has everything to do with the business," Patricia said smoothly. "Because it goes to your character and your trustworthiness. It shows a pattern of deception and misuse of marital assets." We left that session without an agreement, but I could see the cracks forming. Jennifer was scared. Her business was her identity, her pride, and now it was threatened. 2 days later, Sarah called me. I'd been wondering when I'd hear from her. "I'm sorry," she said immediately. "I should have told you sooner. I just didn't know how." "It's okay. You tried to warn me." For what it's worth, Jennifer's been calling me nonstop. She wants me to testify that you are controlling, that you forced her to take your money. Are you going to... Hell no. I saw what you sacrificed for her. I saw how hard you worked. And I saw her throw it away for some gym bro with good abs. She made her choices. Thank you. There's something else you should know. Marcus broke up with her. I sat up straighter. What? Yeah, about a week ago. Apparently, once the divorce got messy and public, he didn't want the drama. Jennifer's been devastated. She's been posting cryptic things on social media about betrayal and heartbreak. The irony is pretty thick. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I felt a strange sadness. Not for Jennifer, for the years I'd wasted, for the person I'd thought she was. "Thanks for telling me," I said. "For what it's worth, David, you're going to be okay. Better than okay." The second mediation session happened 3 weeks later. This time, Jennifer came alone. Richard Calloway had been replaced by a less expensive lawyer named Tom Chun, which told me she was worried about legal fees. She looked different, smaller somehow. The confidence that had always radiated from her was gone. Dr. Phillips began with updates. "Have the parties had a chance to review the proposals?" Tom Chun spoke first. "My client is now willing to offer $150,000 and the marital home." Patricia looked at me. I shook my head. "Not acceptable," Patricia said. "Mr. Mitchell's investment totaled over $230,000. We're seeking full compensation plus an additional $50,000 for emotional distress and misuse of marital funds." Jennifer leaned forward. "I don't have that kind of money. The business can't sustain a payout that large." "Then perhaps you should have thought of that before. Spending marital funds on your affair," Patricia said coolly. Can I speak to David alone? Jennifer asked, suddenly. Just 5 minutes. Dr. Phillips looked at me. I nodded. Everyone else left the room. Jennifer and I sat across the table from each other in silence for a long moment. I'm sorry, she said finally, for everything. I was selfish and stupid, and I destroyed the best thing in my life. Yes, you did. Marcus left me, said I was too much drama. I heard I've lost you. I'm losing my business. I have nothing left. I looked at her, this woman I'd loved, this woman I'd built my life. Around Dan felt nothing. The anger had burned out. The pain had faded. All that was left was exhaustion. You have your business, he said. That's what you chose. That's what you prioritized. I chose wrong. Yeah, you did. Is there any way we could work this out? Start over. I almost laughed. You're not serious. I still love you. No, you don't. You love the security I provided. You love the financial support, but you don't love me. If you loved me, you wouldn't have been with Marcus for 8 months. Her eyes filled with tears. I made a mistake. You made 100 mistakes. Every time you lied to me, every time you met him, every time you used my money to fund your affair. Those weren't mistakes. Jennifer, those were choices. What do you want from me? I want fair compensation for my investment. That's it. I don't want revenge. I don't want to destroy you. I just want what's mine. $280,000 will cripple my business. Then you'll have to figure it out. The same way I had to figure out how to rebuild my retirement after I gave it to you. The same way I had to figure out how to trust again after you betrayed me. She wiped her tears. I can do $175,000 and the house. That's truly all I can manage without destroying everything. I considered it. Patricia would probably advise me to push for more, but I was tired. Tired of fighting, tired of being angry, tired of letting Jennifer consume any more of my life. $200,000 in the house, payment plan over 3 years. And you sign a statement acknowledging the affair and the misuse of funds. The statement is non-negotiable. I want documentation that protects me if you ever try to spin this story differently. She closed her eyes, nodded. Okay, we called the lawyers back in. Patricia raised an eyebrow when I told her I'd accepted a modified offer, but she didn't argue. We hammered out the details over the next hour. Jennifer would pay me $50,000 immediately from her business savings, then $25,000 every 6 months for the next 6 years. The house was mine, along with my car and all my personal property. She'd keep her business and her car. The divorce was finalized 6 weeks later. I didn't attend the final hearing. Patricia represented me. I was at work consulting for one of Jennifer's former clients on a major financial restructuring project. When Patricia called to tell me it was done, I was in the middle of a spreadsheet. It's official. You're divorced. Okay, thanks. That's it. Just okay. What else is there to say? It's over. Most people have more of a reaction. I've been reacting for months. Now I just want to move forward. And I did. I moved back into the house and immediately started making it mine. I repainted the walls in colors I liked. I bought new furniture. I turned Jennifer's home office into a gym. I planted a garden in the backyard. Every change erased another piece of her presence. My consulting business took off. The 3 clients I'd picked up from Jennifer referred me to others. Within 6 months, I had enough work to quit my regular job and go fully independent. The irony was beautiful Jennifer's business had given me the contacts and credibility to build my own success. I heard through Sarah that Jennifer was struggling. The business was still operating, but barely. She'd lost several major clients to competitors. She'd had to lay off staff. The payments to me were draining her resources. I didn't feel bad. 1 year after the divorce, Sarah invited me to a dinner party. Just friends, she said. No pressure. But you've been isolated too long. I almost said no, but something made me say yes. That's where I met Rachel. She was a graphic designer, recently divorced herself, with a sharp wit and an easy laugh. We talked for hours that night about everything except about books and travel and the funny things our dogs did. When the party ended, I asked for her number. I should warn you, I said. I'm probably not ready for anything serious. Good, she replied. Because neither am I. Let's just be 2 people who enjoy talking to each other. We started slow. Coffee dates, lunch, walks in the park, no pressure, no expectations, and slowly, carefully, I started to remember what it felt like to be with someone who actually valued me. Rachel never asked me for money, never expected me to solve her problems, never made me feel like my worth was measured by what I could provide. She just enjoyed my company, and I enjoyed hers. 6 months into dating, she mentioned she was thinking about expanding her design business but was nervous about the investment. How much do you need? I asked. No, she said firmly. I appreciate the offer, but I need to do this myself. I have savings. I have a plan. I just needed to talk it through. I fell a little bit in love with her right then. 2 years after the divorce, I saw Jennifer at a coffee shop. She was with a man I didn't recognize, both of them hunched over a laptop, looking stressed. She'd aged, not badly, but noticeably. The spark that used to define her was gone. She looked up and saw me. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then she gave a small nod. I nodded back, and that was it. No drama. No confrontation. Just two people who used to share a life, acknowledging that we'd both moved on. I went back to my table where Rachel was waiting with our coffees. "Was that her?" she asked. "Yeah. You okay?" "I'm perfect." And I meant it. Jennifer made her final payment to me on a Tuesday afternoon in spring. $200,000 spread over 3 years. I deposited the check and felt nothing. No triumph, no anger, no satisfaction, just closure. I used part of the money to invest in Rachel's business, not as a loan, as a partnership. We drew up proper contracts, proper terms, proper boundaries. She insisted on it. "I never want you to feel like I'm using you," she said. "I know you're not, but I appreciate the clarity. That's the difference." I realized with Jennifer, everything had been vague, unspoken, assumed. With Rachel, everything was clear, honest, direct. It made all the difference. 3 years after the divorce, my father got sick. Cancer, aggressive, and fast. He fought for 6 months before deciding he'd had enough. In his final days, I sat with him in the hospice room, holding his hand. "I'm proud of you," he said, his voice weak but clear. "You handled everything with dignity. I learned from you." "No, you learned from yourself. You learned what you would and wouldn't accept. That's the most important lesson." I wish Mom could have met Rachel. She knows. Wherever she is, she knows. And she's proud to... He died on a Sunday morning with me beside him. Rachel came straight from her own family brunch when I called. She just held me while I cried. At the funeral, I saw Jennifer. She'd sent flowers and a card, but I was surprised to see her there. "I'm sorry for your loss," she said. "Your father was always kind to me. Thank you for coming. David... Can I say something?" I nodded. "I've spent 3 years thinking about what I lost. Not the money or the security, the person you were. The person you were to me. I threw away something irreplaceable because I was chasing something shiny and exciting. I know it's too late, but I want you to know I understand what I did. And I'm sorry. I appreciate that. Are you happy?" I looked over at Rachel, who was talking quietly with my cousin. "Yeah, I really am," Jennifer smiled. "And for the first time since I discovered the affair, it looked genuine." "Good. You deserve it." She left after that. I never saw her again. 5 years after the divorce, Rachel and I got married. Small ceremony, just close friends and family. No big production, no stress. Just the people who'd found each other after their worlds had fallen apart, promising to build something better together. On our wedding night, as we sat on the balcony of our hotel room overlooking the ocean, Rachel asked me if I ever regretted how things went with Jennifer. Do I regret the relationship? Sometimes, all those years feel wasted. They weren't wasted. They made you who you are. Do I regret how it ended? Not at all. I learned what I'm worth. I learned that sacrifice should be mutual. I learned that love without respect is just obligation. And now I have a partner who values me, who sees me as an equal, who would never take advantage of my love. That's worth everything I went through to get here. She leaned her head on my shoulder. I feel the same way about you. We sat there in comfortable silence, watching the waves crash against the shore. The past was behind me. The future was bright. And for the first time in a decade, I felt complete. 7 years after the divorce, Sarah called me with news. Jennifer's business had finally failed. She'd filed for bankruptcy and was working as a marketing manager for someone else's company. "I thought you'd want to know," Sarah said. "How is she?" "Okay, I think. Humbled. She's dating someone new, a teacher. Nice guy. Very normal. I think she finally learned her lesson. Good for her." "You're not mad?" "Not even a little vindicated." "No. I hope she finds happiness. Just not with me. Because that's what I'd learned through all of this. Holding on to anger, on to hurt, on to resentment. It only hurts you." Jennifer had made her choices. I'd made mine. And both of us had to live with the consequences. My consequences included a thriving business, a loving wife, genuine friendships, and peace of mind. Hers included losing everything she'd built and starting over. The universe has a way of balancing the scales. I think about that photo sometime. The one Tom, the bartender, sent me that shattered my world. Jennifer and Marcus laughing at table 12, holding hands, looking so happy. I'd looked at that photo hundreds of times in those first weeks, torturing myself with questions. How could she? Why wasn't I enough? What did he have that I didn't? Now I look at it and see something different. I see a woman who didn't know what she had until she lost it. I see a man who is willing to give everything without demanding anything in return. And I see the beginning of my real life, because sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is actually the best thing. Sometimes betrayal is liberation in disguise. Sometimes losing someone who doesn't value you makes room for someone who does. My wife was having dinner with her lover until the waiter took their picture and sent it to me. That picture destroyed my marriage, but it saved my life. Today, I'm sitting on my back porch with Rachel, our dog sleeping between us, the garden I planted years ago in full bloom. I'm successful, respected, surrounded by people who genuinely care about me. I'm happy, truly, deeply happy. And Jennifer, wherever she is, whatever she's doing, I hope she's found some measure of peace. I hope she learned from her mistakes. I hope she treats the next person better than she treated me. But mostly, I don't think about her at all, because I learned the most important lesson. You can't make someone value you. You can't love someone into treating you well. You can't sacrifice enough to earn loyalty from someone who doesn't understand what loyalty means. All you can do is know your worth. Stand up for yourself, walk away from people who diminish you, and build a life with people who celebrate you. It took me losing everything to learn that. But I'd do it all again if it meant ending up here. If you've ever been betrayed, taken for granted, or made to feel like you weren't enough, know this: you are enough. The right people will see your value. The right people will cherish your sacrifices. The right people will choose you every single day. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you loved? How did you find the strength? Share your story in the comments. Never know who needs to hear it. And if this story resonated with you, subscribe for more real-life stories about betrayal, redemption, and finding yourself again. Because sometimes the end of one story is just the beginning of something better.